Whether you love us or hate us, back live on Inside the Game, episode 274. You're on the National Soccer Network. A big thanks to everyone back and joining us again here today. Good job, Brian Glinsky, yesterday going solo for 2 hours here in the morning show. Had a lot of people joining in on the chat, too. A couple of people getting involved. What you said, somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 different people joining in, commenting on the show yesterday. So
Not
had a
80
lot
different
of
people commented. It was the
Oh,
same like
80
5 or
different
6, but
comments.
there was
Okay.
84 comments. No.
84 comments. Okay. All right. We're not quite there yet. But that is no, that's impressive, man. It was a fun show too, and a lot of stuff to talk about. And I know there was some breaking news after the fact, but yeah, how was yesterday and how was all that?
It was a really fun show. Everyone was active in the chat. We talked Arsenal, we talked Chelsea, we talked Leicester, we talked basically everything there is in between. Everyone was good in the chat. I relied on them heavily yesterday, and they delivered. So yeah, no, it's very fun, exciting show. We're looking forward to this one as well.
A lot to get into today. We have a very special guest, by the way, planning on joining us in the 10 o'clock hour. John Kowalski planning on stopping by the show. Long time coaching in USA Soccer, was actually the manager for the U.S. men's national team for 3 games, but he's been everywhere. Started back in the 70s, and he's made so many different stops throughout the professional rankings. So a lot to get to with him as we get closer to the World Cup here in 2026. But Ryan, you were mentioning something that you guys do at the front office, and one of the difficulties about this podcast that we do is obviously we're remote. We're not in the same room together. People see that because obviously we're through a screen and we're not sitting next to each other. So there's a lot of stuff that I think goes on in that space that I'm just not aware of. A lot of things that are said, a lot of information that's shared, whatever the heck the case may be. But one of those things you were mentioning this morning is the hypotheticals that you guys apparently stew over day after day, that are just kind of randomly dropped on you guys. And then you had to think about it, and it turns into nearly an hour-long conversation. And so, the last few days you guys have been doing this, so I guess I have one. And I grew up watching, my dad watched Seinfeld, right? So that was like, it was either Seinfeld or Family Guy. Don't say yikes. Why do you hate everything that's good in this world? Seinfeld is great. Seinfeld is
Yikes.
awesome.
It's very dull.
Anyways,
It's a very dull show.
Yeah, well, it was a different generation. But anyways, I don't think Jerry Seinfeld's the funniest guy in the world, but he's a goofball,
No, he's
so I guess
rather
it works.
annoying.
But here's my hypothetical for you today. If an alien were to abduct you, right, and they bring you back to their home planet, would you rather be in the zoo or would you rather be in the carnival?
The zoo, because I get to stay in one spot.
Okay, so that's kind of what Jerry said in Seinfeld. He said, if you stay in the zoo, you have a more stringent schedule, right? You know where you're going to be. It's not show business. Also, you might have the, off chance of
I can do
actually
whatever
getting.
I want.
That's
To
what
be
I'm
honest
saying,
with
but you
you.
might. Right. And you don't have to just be yourself and then the people come to see you. Also, you might get a partner or someone else to share the space with. Whereas if you're in the zoo, I mean, you got to wear a little hat and jump through fiery hoops. Now, I will say at least you get to travel around if you're in the zoo.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
I'd rather just sit there.
Yeah, but
do nothing.
carnies go everywhere, man. I'm just saying,
Yeah, no,
carnies
I don't
are
care about
all
that.
over the
I just get to
place
sit,
from
hang out.
place to place.
People just
You're
people
telling me
just
you
don't-
wouldn't get bored?
People come to watch me sit on my ass. Yeah, I'd rather just do that.
Yeah, but you would give them a show, right? You would give them a reason to
depends on the
continue to
day.
come back to the exhibit. Oh,
Depends on
okay.
the day.
All right. So just whatever you're feeling on that particular day. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Fair.
the
Yeah, I
carnival,
think
I'd
I
be
would.
moving all the time. I'd be in a cramped box. I'd be in a cramped train car. I mean, there's pressure
Yeah.
on me to perform every single day. Nah, man, I'd
Yeah.
rather just sit there and be lazy, to be honest
We're
with you.
assuming.
I
We're
already
assuming.
don't want to be there, so I might as well just,
It's fair.
sit in the zoo and do nothing.
We're assuming the aliens are treating the zoo as if it's a human zoo, though. I don't know what's involved in an alien zoo. I mean, there's so many galaxies out there. I don't know. I don't even know where we're going. So, yeah, it's be weird. But in a worst case scenario, I'd probably say the zoo. Hopefully, I never get abducted. But anyways, let's get into our hour number one conversation. We don't have 45 minutes to stew on this question because obviously we have a show to get to. So, something to think about, something to chew on for the fans who are following along here today. By the way, follow us on social media inside or National Soccer Network in Sports Nation. That's sports with a Z. But Ryan, let's start off here with topic number one here today as we get closer to the World Cup. News yesterday, and I know that we've been talking a lot in and around this topic and just kind of waiting for news, because at first we thought that Iran was not going to be a part of the World Cup. The initial news that we had received was that they were not going to be involved in this, and now, obviously they said that was not our intention. We fully plan on being there. FIFA, as far as they know, Iran will be there and they will be participating. But some news yesterday, at least coming out of the government in Trump's regime, they had at least one of his side guys had something to say about it.
Yeah, no, they just want Italy and over Iran. Like, Iran's just full of shit at this point. They said they didn't want to play in it, and then the whole Asian Federation was like, or the Asia Cup Federation, whatever they're called, was like, yeah, this is news to us. They never told us anything. And FIFA's like, that's news to us. They haven't told us anything. So I just would say that Iran is going to participate in this World Cup, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't participate at this point. Like, you guys are under 50 days away. You guys have qualified for it, and if it's that much of an issue, you guys would have called out a long time ago, and they haven't. They have they've been fooled themselves so far. And Italy, it's not Donald Trump who said this. It was his one of his people close to him, Paolo Zampoli. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, no, he wants Italy in the World Cup. Obviously, he's got some Italian heritage. You want to help to patch some things up with the prime minister, whatever. I mean, Italy wouldn't do anything in the World Cup anyway. I mean, just looking at the group here, they would be in, where would Italy be? Where's Iran? Iran, where are you at? I can't see. Oh, so they'd be with Belgium, Egypt, and New Zealand. They probably wouldn't even get out of the group. They'd probably finish third or something. I don't know. They might finish second, but they definitely want to finish first. But yeah, no, I just would say that I think if you're Italy, it'd be a nice gift, but you didn't really actually make it in. And if Iran were to pull out, we'll play the hypothetical. If Iran was not to play in the World Cup, it should go to another team from the Asia continent. I don't know the name of the federation. My bad, guys.
Yeah.
But no, that's where I would go. I just would go with them. I think that is a better. I think that's a better solution because, granted, Italy is probably a better team than that Asian team, but I think you've got to give the correct representation of, the Asia continent, the Asia Soccer Federation. Like, you've got to give them, the right representation because, I think the federations get a certain amount of money with how many countries and teams are participating. So no, unless you wanted to go to a playoff, but I just don't think you could ever hand Italy I don't think you could hand Italy like, here you go, you guys didn't qualify, but here's the World Cup. There's two solutions to this. You either just bring in the highest ranked Asia team, or you just make Italy in the highest ranked Asia team, and maybe a couple other teams do a playoff for it. But yeah, no, that's just what I would do. But guys, please don't think Donald Trump said this. This is someone close to Donald Trump, because I have been reading all the tweets, and it's like, Donald Trump wants to do this. It's like, guys, no, it doesn't have to do with the president. He just, the Zampoli guy went to the FIFA president, was like, we should do this. So that's all this was. It's not the president actually thinking that you should do this.
Yeah, well, I mean, right off the rip, I mean, they don't deserve it. So no, sorry, you didn't qualify for the World Cup. You don't get into the World Cup, right? And that was one of the explanations that was provided by Zampoli was, hey, we have the history and we have, all these other things that tell the world that we deserve to be in the World Cup. We have hardware to show you. Well, you've missed 3 World Cup cycles. Just because you did it 2 decades ago doesn't mean anything to us right now. You did not qualify. You lost to Bosnia. What a Euros? Okay, that's fine. But, as it pertains to the World Cup specifically, no, absolutely, you do not deserve it. So I don't really care what his heritage is. That has nothing to do with the World Cup. I realize that it is, in a lot of ways, kind of unprecedented, Iran playing in the World Cup, also with the whole thing with them not wanting to play in the continental United States. Again, I don't know if something ends up coming of that, and that could certainly create for problems on down the line, but Iran deserves it because they actually qualified to get in. So no, I agree with that part of the conversation. And Paolo Zampoli actually said that, he has Italian heritage and says that Italy has all the qualifications and that, that they should be in. So that was one of the biggest reasons why he thought that they would be a more fitting option. Obviously, that and, our not political tensions, our war with Iran right now. And so yes, it wasn't Trump directly, but let's keep in mind this regime they're in the business of doing everything they can to kind of take Iran out of the picture, which that would be the next step. If not bombing them, it's taking them out of the World Cup and replacing them with someone that hits a little bit closer to home. I do, when I look at this, the reason why it's hard to ignore the political angle of this is when you consider all the things that have gone on when it comes to the Vatican and our president. Now, I don't want to dive into that. I don't want to do politics, okay? But it's a storyline, and it's certainly something to talk about. But let's not ignore that whole angle to this story. I believe that there certainly is something to be said there. A lot of people were offended. However, FIFA on the other end goes, they were adamant that Iran's going to be there the whole time. They say they have not received a proposal. They have not received word. They have not received anything from the president or any of his wingmen to say that Iran shouldn't be in this and that Italy should replace them. So clearly there's a breakdown in communication between FIFA and the government. But, I don't, Paulo Zampoli doing this does not surprise me. And again, I don't want to go into all the ways in which it doesn't surprise me. There are stories here, and this is someone who has cut corners in the past in order to get done things personal interest wise. And yeah, I mean, it is seen in a lot of ways as a political opportunity, for our government to repair what has become a rocky relationship between us and the Italians. So I think that is one of the main reasons as to why this proposal was put there in the first place. Also, safety concerns about Iran coming to the United States. I'm not going to sit here and deny that there isn't some sort of danger, not only for their players, but also for their fans coming to the U.S. I'm sure there's a lot to consider when it comes to the angle of what's going on in the world right now in the World Cup. Now, politics have always been a part of it, and we've said that on this show. You're not going to have a World Cup without politics being interwoven into it in one way or the other, but it is really, really hard to look at this and not paint it as a political move. I know it didn't maybe come from Trump directly, but still, one of his right-hand guys is like, well, we need to get Iran out of here and get, a country that means a little bit more to me and a government that we're a lot more interested in repairing damages with into the World Cup. But this isn't a participation award. This isn't getting into the World Cup is not a political matter. You win, you get in. That's the thing about interfering in it in this way that just it strikes me as stupid and lame, but it wouldn't surprise me if something like this went down, but clearly FIFA is completely unaware that there was even an idea that something like this would happen. But no, I 100% think it's a political move. 100%.
So the team that, if we were to go off the idea of a Asia team to replace them, it would be Oman. I've never heard of this country before, but they're ranked 79th in the world. They're ranked 79th in the world. Oman, they finished third in their World Cup qualifying group. Just a couple of results for the people at home. They drew with South Korea, beat Kuwait, Lebanon, Niger, lost to Jordan, tied with Palestine, and then drew with Qatar, lost to United Arab Emirates, lost to the Ivory Coast, and beat Sudan. So they failed to make the World Cup. But if you were to go that route, that's the team, that's the country that you would replace them with. The only thing that you would maybe do is if Oman play Italy in the World Cup playoff. I would imagine Italy would win that one. I think they're probably the by far way better team than the country Oman. Again, I hope I'm saying that right. I don't necessarily know what the correct pronunciation of that country is. I've never heard of them until today. So, yeah, no, that's the way I would go. But to be honest with you, I think with the expanded field and everything and a whole bunch of different countries in it, like Jordan, United Arab Emirates, Iraq's obviously in it, a whole bunch of random other countries. But you did mention, a participation thing. Well, for some countries, it is a participation thing. Like, Honduras, I remember was it 2010, 2014? I think it was 2014 that they lost like every single game by like 3 goals or whatever. And then on the final match day of the group, they scored 1 goal and the whole place went crazy. Like they scored a goal in the World Cup. So for some
Yeah.
countries, yes, it's just about just getting there, having fun. They know that they're not going to win it all. They just want to score
Oh
a
yeah.
goal, maybe
That's not what I
get a
meant by
point.
that. Yeah, that's not what I meant by that. What I meant by participation thing is like we can just pick and choose who we want to be in it. Like that you have to earn your way in it. Now for hosting countries, obviously this is a different story. The US did not have to qualify, thank God.
Same
Mexico
with
or
Mexico
the
and
Canada did not have to qualify. So yes, to that degree. And I think it's not always been that way, has it? I think before you actually had to still qualify if you're the hosting country, but I think they
You
didn't
still
they
had to
change that at
you
some
didn't
point?
have to qualify.
It's always been that way. Okay. So for those countries, yes. But for everybody else, I mean, it's not, that was my point. I know that, not everybody's coming with the intention of winning it. I don't think Haiti's going to win a World Cup this year, although, we might get that before we get GTA 6. So who knows? Who knows what all that looks like. So
Yeah, I'm
no,
just thinking I just want to go up and just replace a team just based on everything
no.
that's happened in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've won a Euros in 2020, but since 2006 they've done absolutely nothing in the World Cup stage. Didn't get out of the
Yeah.
group in 2010, didn't get out of the group in 2014, and didn't qualify obviously for the last 3. And they might try to host
Yep.
in 2034 or 2038, one of the 2 World Cups. So yeah, no, and the other thing is there's going to be more joint bids, obviously now with the expanded field. So you're going to see a lot more teams just make the World Cup simply just because they're the hosts. But no, I personally would just give it to Oman, and just make that Belgium group the weakest group I think I've ever seen in my life. It would be Belgium, Egypt, New Zealand, and Oman or Oman. I don't know. Like I think that is probably, if that were to be the case, I think that is probably the weakest group I've ever seen, to be honest with you. No, Brazil's got Morocco in it. Maybe Switzerland, Qatar, Bosnia, and Canada is probably the weakest group. But I
Mhm.
mean, outside of that, I mean, that. No, Austria's not bad. Austria's not bad. I was gonna say Argentina's group looks pretty easy, but no, I would personally just go with the Canada, Qatar, Switzerland, Bosnia. That is just a whole lot of mid. That is just
Yeah.
a mid World Cup group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot going on there. So I just don't think, and I don't think it would be a good look for Italy either. Like
No,
if you're such a proud soccer culture, if you're such a proud soccer country, being
but if
handed
you win it,
a
who
World
cares?
Cup big as a gift is just, yeah, no, I understand, but I mean, if anything, I feel like winning it wouldn't be an asterisk. I mean, if you win it, you win it, like you earned it. There's no such thing as an asterisk World Cup title, especially with the teams that you have to go through. But there would be a sense in the sports world, and I would feel the same exact way. Like, frankly, I would be embarrassed. Like, if this was the U.S. and if it was somewhere else and someone gave us some sort of, hey, someone else bailed out, like in 2014, they were like, hey, well, we need or 2018, sorry, like we need somebody, like that would just feel cheap. It wouldn't feel great.
I
But
wouldn't
you're
care, to be
right.
honest with you.
I
We
mean,
got in.
yeah,
Don't matter.
yeah,
If we got in and we won a couple games and we made the knockouts and won a game in the knockouts,
yeah,
I could care less about it, because you know what? You still got it done. It's the same way as
right.
if a first 4 team in the NCAA March Madness gets all the way to the Final Four, aka UCLA and VCU. Like, they don't care. They got to the Final Four. They got in. They won a couple games. Texas. Shark's obviously not in here, but Texas, there's a first 4 team. Guess what? They made the Sweet 16. I highly doubt
They
they
had to
care.
win. They had to win to get into the play-in, though. You know what I mean? Like they played a whole season to get into the play-in. Like,
But
yeah, they're a bubble
They
team.
still got in. They still
That's
got
true.
in. Blame the
Yeah,
people.
that's true.
Blame the people making the decisions. I could care less if the United States got in because someone withdrew or anything like that. I would have been like, that's fine, perfectly fine with me.
Yeah. Coming up next here on Inside the Game, Landon Donovan has been all over the media lately. It's kind of on a crusade of sorts, talking about USA youth soccer and youth development in the United States. He had some bold words yesterday about some of the youth coaches across the U.S. Only issue in my mind is if you're going to bring up a problem, may as well provide some solutions. We'll talk about that on the next topic here in hour number 1. But first, FC Bayern Summer Soccer Camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, fostering football excellence across North America Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, FC Bayern camps deliver elite training inspired by FC Bayern Munich's world-class philosophy. Select your city and start a promising soccer path. Right now, save $30 on registration by using promo code BayernNSN30. Yeah, that's BayernNSN30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Learn more at FCBayernYouth.com.
So the dream behind Irene's was simply to be a place where the community could come and gather. This is my hometown, we're raising our family here, and we just want to be a space where people can come together as a community and share a great meal. We've got golf simulators, we got pinball, live music, trivia nights, but we also have fresh, always homemade, locally sourced food, and we serve it with a sense of Gemütlichkeit. This is a German word that conveys a sense of warmth and coziness and belonging. We're excited to show off how we're growing and that this is the place to be.
Inside the Game rolls along here in hour number 1, episode 274. Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinsky getting into what we saw yesterday. And I know you and I were chatting about this a little bit before the show began, and some strong words from Landon Donovan yesterday. Had a conversation about USA Youth Soccer, and again, he's been making a lot of comments about the way it all looks in the U.S. He wants to change it. It is true. It's a very long quote from Galazzo, so I'm not going to read the entirety of it. I'll try to summarize as much as I can. But Landon Donovan. Oh, there it is. You got it right on the screen. Look at you.
I told you
I should know, man. Best producer in the country, man. This dude's unbelievable. But quote, if I have a convo with a youth soccer coach from America, half of the time, coach thinks they know more about soccer than I do. In England, there's an overall common goal and a desire for the national team to succeed because it helps everyone. In America, we have such a massive country, and we have a lot of people who know nothing about soccer, who get an opinion on soccer and have influence in soccer. It's just because they have power in their little areas that they run. The parents are beholden to the kids. So there is a lot that he said in this that's right, Ryan. Where I have my problem with Landon Donovan, and I think, first off, I just want to start off with this. It's great that he cares. Like, we have the earliest conversations that we ever had on this podcast all centered around former U.S. men's national team, U.S. women's national team players who have played at the highest level in this country and elsewhere across the world, and the importance of them sticking around in this game in whatever capacity it is to try and push the game forward. Love him or hate him, I think Alexi Lalas is trying to do that. Love him or hate him, oftentimes I more or less hate him more than love him. Eric Winalda is doing that. You look at Tim Howard, any of these other guys that are in the media that are, putting their best foot forward. Taylor Twellman is another good example. Not to mention all the U.S. women's national team players, which obviously they deserve their roses as well. for how much they put into bringing the game up. So I think it's very, very important that he cares as much as he does. So I think as much as he might rub off on people the wrong way, you certainly can't say that he doesn't care, and you certainly can't say that he's not shy about putting that opinion out there. On the other end, though, Ryan, where this becomes problematic to me when I look at all this, love that he genuinely cares. However, my favorite thing about the attention economy that we live in is that complaining about issues but not actually addressing them is the new in thing. And I'm a proponent of this as well. I mean, you see our clips on our social media pages. A lot of times it's me just yelling about stuff that everybody else has said and just repurposing it for our show and putting it out to the masses. But oftentimes I'm not providing solutions to those problems because admittedly, when it comes to owning a soccer club or doing any of those other things, I believe there was a coach once upon a time that asked us if we own a soccer club. And I'm like, no, I don't. And nor do I have any interest in getting into all that. So it might seem a little hypocritical coming from me to say, hey, it's too expensive or the coaches don't care. It's just a money grab. But it is also important to realize that there's a reason why those clips pick up as much steam as they do, because people agree. And there are thousands of people that agree. And I remember mentioning the $200 a month to play in a place like England, and people are like, yeah, 250 is just the team picture here in the United States. Like that's it. Like we don't get anything else for $250 a month. So there are a lot of good things that he's saying in here. However, Landon, buddy, on the other side, you have to be able to provide solutions. One of my favorite things, again, in this attention economy is that you can address issues, complain about them, but not actually provide any sort of real-time solutions as to how to change that. If you want to, if the conversation is we have an abundance of resources, we have an abundance of human beings here, that we should be able, with all the money and the resources that we have, to put a good national team together that can compete with some of the top countries in the world, and that there's a true disconnect here when it comes to youth development, I would agree. But what is a solution, a realistic solution in your mind to the problem? Because we can all sit around in a circle and yell at each other about how much we hate the way the world is, but unless one of us gets up and actually does something about it, well, then what's going to happen? Nothing. The same stuff. We can talk about this in the area of politics and everywhere else. If people want to sit around and be like, oh, this sucks, but it's just going to remain the same way unless you actually get up and try and do something about it. So, Landon, I agree with everything that you're saying. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. However, what's the solution on the other end of things? Now, the comparison of him versus coaches in these areas, I don't buy into the idea of you need to play a sport in order to be knowledgeable on a sport. Now, mind you, my credibility in this game is not nearly as much as someone who has been following it their whole life. I've done my best to immerse myself in it the last couple of years. But just because I didn't play the sport, and I did at like 5 years old or whatever it was, I don't really think that counts, but it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to, number one, have an opinion, or number two, learn about something. I mean, I talked about Buster Olney and how he's one of the main voices in baseball that people actually go to for some of their takes and some of their news and their wisdom as it pertains to the game. He never played anywhere above a junior varsity level. I'm pretty sure he didn't. And there's a lot of other people in the media that have never been in that. Also, we don't have the availability or the ability in the United States to turn people away from this game. We simply don't have it, right? So if someone wants to own a club, wants to get involved, I'm all for it. You can't just automatically say because you played the game at a high level that you understand everything that needs to be done. That's not how that goes. I hate the argument of, well, I played the game, so I know more. No, not necessarily. Yes, in some respects, especially with what goes on in the game, but not in all respects. And so I think that comparison's a little cheap. However, if I were to turn to someone for wisdom as to how to change this or what might look different, personally, I think I might turn to Landon Donovan versus someone who maybe worked in a different career field their whole life and now has a bunch of money and goes, hey, let me buy my way into the soccer space, because maybe they don't know a lot, and they certainly don't know what it takes to develop true soccer talent. Not all of them. We've worked with a lot of great clubs on this network. I think Detroit Metro is awesome. I think a lot of those other places have done great jobs in producing professional players. That ain't to say everybody knows what they're doing.
First off, I think Landon Donovan is very hard to agree with anyone. I think he comes off the wrong way. He's got a big ego. Someone could tell him the sky's blue, and he'll probably be like, "Dude, it's green. I'm telling you, it's green." Like that's just Landon Donovan is. So some of these youth coaches could very well be right in their own aspect, and Landon Donovan's like, "Yeah, no, like that's just not it. That's not how we did it over there." Well, in Europe or whatever. Landon, you didn't really do well in Europe anyway, so it's not.
It wasn't even in Europe for very long, was he?
So exactly, like if Pulisic were to come over here and say like this is how it's done in Europe, I'd take his word over it than Landon Donovan. Like, dude, you didn't do like the things that Pulisic, McKennie, or anyone's doing over in Europe as much. And I will say this, I also don't think Donovan is a businessman or runs a business or anything like that. Like, every youth team, whether that's soccer, basketball, baseball, football, it's a business in its own sense. Some of these club owners, team owners, football team owners, they have another job, and then they also run this on the side, and they're trying to, as long as they could break even, I'm pretty sure they're just fine with it. At least that's what I can expect from everyone else. That's kind of what I've been kind of suspected. But I mean, look, there's obviously youth coaches are definitely in it just for the money. There's 100% youth coaches that just want to make money off of it and not truly try to develop anything. There's definitely them out there, but there's also coaches out there and youth owners that aren't in it just for the money. They want to help see coaches succeed in everything. I talked with one of the youth association coaches not too long ago, and he's like, I was like, what would you want, one of these coaches, or what would you want some of your youth players to just take away from their time here? He's like, I just want them to have fun, make sure that you whatever you get in this world is like hard work or whatever. He goes, a boss does not care about that you went 8-0 in your U10 soccer league when you were 10 years old. No one actually cares about that. They're like, as long as we create good kids and, they work hard for everything, that's all that matters. A couple of comments coming in. Joseph says FIFA should rather replace the United States. I don't think that's ever going to happen, and I don't think that should happen.
Replace the United States?
That means we're going to have to replace...
Oh, in the World Cup?
Yeah, that means we're going to have to replace everyone else. And Fabian says, what's up? And Baco says, UPSL alone costs about a minimum of $20K a year semi-pro. Yeah, that's right. And the average lifespan of a UPSL club is 4 years, I think. 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
So, obviously there's some outliers in there, but there's some that, will only last 3 to 4 years. It's expensive to run a club because you've got to rent out space. You've got to rent out a field, maybe an indoor facility. You may have to rent out, obviously, team or the jerseys. You've got to, find streaming because most of these places need streaming. So that's what that's all that counts. But to the youth soccer aspect, yeah, it costs money. Everything in this world costs money. People who still can't wrap their head around that. There is still technically pay to play all across the world. Like, I'm just saying, guys. Like, every country has some sort of aspect of pay to play. We are not the only ones, and that's why I'm saying there are some aspects that club owners actually are in it for the money. And I do think there's something else to be said about the whole pay to play aspect and it being costing so much. You've got to travel very far in the United States. Like, if you were to go from Michigan to Florida, that's going to be a pretty penny. To go from, I'm sure, London to Manchester, I don't know how far that is, but England's not that massive of a country compared to the United States. Like, it's, the size of a state? Like, a whole country is the size of one of our states, like Michigan or Ohio. It's the size of that. That's a big difference in terms of travel. Gas, obviously, and all that fun stuff. Like, it costs a ton just to travel. Like, the United States is massive. Gas is expensive. So, like, it's going to cost a lot just to travel to these places. Fabian, there should be 1 to 2 federation leagues in the States. There's too many pathways in Central and South America, or pathways in Central and South America. There are very few leagues, and they have a straight pathway. Well, look at the soccer in the United States is clearly a wild, wild west. No one truly knows what's going on. Like, you've got the MLS, you've got the USL, but like outside of that, like, if you can start your own league, you can start your own league, to be honest with you. But that's also all the other sports. Alan says crime is legal now, apparently. I don't know what you're talking about, Alan. And you can fit Europe in the United States. That's what I'm saying. Travel is a big aspect, and no one ever talks about that in the whole pay-to-play system. No one ever talks
No,
about that.
the logistics are a nightmare because, well, first of all, Texas is like the size of like all of Europe. Like it's much big. It's significantly larger than Britain is, Great Britain, and I think it even swallows up a couple of other surrounding countries around it. Like that's just the state of Texas. And so this is, yeah, you're right. The logistics of all of it is an absolute nightmare. And I think, to go to these showcases, to go to these places, it's going to be expensive, but is there more of a regional option, in order to still continue to develop and play where, again, like we talked about on one of our earlier shows, are you going all the way down to Florida to play a team that's down the road? Like, why wouldn't you just be able to play them in Michigan? Why isn't this more of a regional approach from the United States in terms of development? Like Michigan teams play Michigan teams, or you don't go anywhere else outside of the Midwest. If you're from Florida, you play Georgia and Louisiana and the places that are around you. If you're from Texas, you probably never leave the state of Texas because you probably never have to leave the state of Texas. There's
exceptions to this whole thing. Like, my team wanted to go to Vegas so bad. Like, what? We can't go to Vegas because we set up like 2-3 years. We said we wanted to go to Vegas. We eventually did. And thank God
you guys
it was in
fundraised
February
for
of
it,
2020
I imagine, right?
instead of March of 2020. Thank God we made it in February. But
did you guys fundraise for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
yeah. So I mean,
and I can't like the whole well, Michigan teams are playing Michigan teams. You sign up for the same damn tournaments. Then you guys should have like picked different tournaments to go into. That's not the tournament's fault. That's not U.S. Soccer's fault for signing up. You didn't have to sign up for all these different tournaments. You didn't have to choose to go to them. If that's the whole aspect, well, all these Michigan teams, they go play in Illinois.
Who signs up for the
time.
tournaments, though?
We could have played down the road. You guys signed up for the tournament. It's not U.S. Soccer's fault.
How does that work, though? And this is genuine curiosity. Who chooses what tournaments to go to? Is that
the clubs,
the coach
the teams,
himself,
the coaches?
or the club and the coaches decide that, not the parents?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So I mean, like, there's a parent that works at the West Michigan Whitecaps that I see often. She talks about her daughters play youth soccer, and when she sees where they have to go and what they have to do, obviously they have no say in where they're going. A lot of these times they just find out, okay, here's our schedule. Looks like on this Saturday.
Know where they should have an idea of where they're going.
Oh, they know, yeah, because they know what the schedule is, but they don't have a hand in deciding where they go. Like, it's not like the parents
they don't have to go
in a meeting and
like, you realize that you don't have to go to the tournament, like, right? There were kids that didn't go to Vegas because their parents didn't want to pay for the flights and the hotels.
But I imagine,
that's a thing.
I imagine the dues that are involved up front in order to get into these clubs go towards covering a lot of those things, whether it be travel, whether it be food, whether it be other things. Like, that's probably why you pay your dues up front, right? Like, it's the same reason, like when you talk about like a security deposit moving into a house, there's a reason why you pay equal to first month's rent so that they can
you got to pay the coach, you got to pay the field fees, the renting all the fields. Like, these clubs most of them don't own fields to practice or play on. Like, these parents realize they don't actually have to go all the way to these tournaments, right? There were players from my team that didn't make a tournament because parents didn't want to drive or pay the gas, the hotels. That happens. Like, and to say that they don't know, they absolutely know what the tournaments are at the beginning of the season in August. When the parent, as long as the coach communicates, which mine did, my whole club did it all the time. They sit down with the parents. They said, "We're going to do this tournament. We're going to do this tournament. We're going to do this tournament. If you don't like it, have a separate conversation with me. And you don't have to go. Like, we've got, 15 other kids that'll go."
So that's the thing. Like, do you get leapfrog? Do other things happen because you're like, well, we're not gonna spend all that money to go on those trips? Like, does that mean that another kid gets to step in and take your place and take your position? And then again, like, you want to hold on to the families that are willing to spend that money to go on those trips and do those things, because those are the people that are going to, again, keep your business going. Imagine if all the parents got together and went, that's ridiculous. We're not spending all this money to go play a tournament in Las Vegas when our kid is 11 years old. Like, that seems like completely out of the ordinary and we don't need to do that, the club wouldn't be doing too hot. I mean, they would be forced to really kind of reconsider some things. So, but you're right. There's always going to be someone that's willing to spend the money. And I think that's partially the problem. And someone actually brought this up when it came to ticket prices with FIFA in the United States. They're like, obviously this is on FIFA and it's wrong what FIFA's trying to do, but FIFA also understands that the United States, there's going to be someone who spends the money for it.
Dude,
but does that make it right?
I searched up yesterday. I said, what was the average ticket price for an NFL playoff game? It was like $1,000 for an NFL playoff game. FIFA sat there and was like, so they'll pay this amount of money to do this stuff. All right, let's see if they'll do it for a World Cup. That's the reason ticket prices are so out of hand, is because you know what the average ticket price for a Michigan-Texas football game back in 2024, right after they won a national championship? It was like $2,000. Why? Because people show up for these things. They pay for it. So the reason FIFA is charging these crazy, I know there's a couple comments, I'll get to them. The reason FIFA is charging you so much for all this stuff is because you pay for college football. And a lot of people like to say, well, school you didn't even go to. And the NFL costs that much. NBA tickets, everything costs so much. So FIFA's like, if these Americans are willing to pay all of this, what makes them say they can't pay for a World Cup ticket? Let's just see what happens. That's the reason they're so ridiculously overpriced, is because you, the American people, decide to pay thousands of dollars to send a family of 4 to a regular season NFL game. That's the reason, guys. That is the reason for all of this. A couple comments coming in. Fabian, they should have the competition by states, then region, then nation. That's how you know who is top dog. They do have stuff like that. That's why they play nationals in Florida all the time. The coach signs up, obligates the parents 100%. Juventus opening up the very first Caribbean Academy in Puerto Rico. Shout out to Juventus. Baco, parents are paying $5,000 plus the trip if they go to play on these academies that are supposed to be big. We got it backwards. Well, the academies are starting to get wiped out now due to the whole MLS and USL academies. Those you don't pay for. That's all with the club or the franchise if you're an MLS. For $5,000, I have seen players buy pro contracts in Eastern Europe. LOL. That's different worlds. Fabian, I told my kids' coach that we aren't going to Spain or UK this year because just for the three of us, it would cost $10,000 for 1 week of him competing over there. That's exactly. You guys, like parents, you don't have to actually go to these things. Like, yeah, your kid might not play in the regular season games when they come back, but you guys realize you don't actually have to play in these things.
Wait, whoa. You said they might not play in the regular season games when they come back? What do you mean?
Yeah, you go to a tournament, and then you come back, and you play your regular season games, like your league games.
Like you might not you might not play if you don't go on the trip? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Like So why
someone might take your spot if you don't go on the trip?
So why would I, if I was a head coach, a kid's like, I can't, I'm not going to the tournament. Parents, too much money, while you're playing 3-4 games in a tournament, and then the next week that kid's going to start? And that's not necessarily how it works. Might sit a half if he's really good.
So you just answered your own question. I hope you realize this. You just answered your own question. Because their parents aren't willing to spend $5,000 to go on the trip, therefore they're going to be left out and they can't start anymore. So regardless of...
You might not start the first game back. I've
you
seen
said
it
games,
happen. You
plural.
don't start the first game back. You might sit a little bit of the game, but you end up still playing the whole game.
Yeah. All right. You said games plural, so I thought that meant like multiple.
You're playing
games
3 to 4 games in the tournament. You might not start the next game. Maybe the next two.
It said regular season games. My bad. Okay, so that's just what I heard.
But football is bigger than soccer. Soccer is not a top-tier sport yet in the States. LeBron is trash. I'd agree with one of those statements, Fabian. LeBron is trash. But it's, guys, like, the parents don't have to go on these things. Like, I've seen it time and time again. But back to the World Cup tickets, the reason they're so ridiculous is because you guys spend ridiculous prices on other sporting events. That's the reason. And they sell out NFL football stadiums. Guys, that's the reason.
Would you agree that the true fan has been priced out of a lot of these arenas, especially
the true
in
fan has been
college
priced out for a long time in American sports.
Okay. Yeah,
Like,
and I would agree that that's a
the
problem.
only sport where a true fan could go to time and time again is baseball because there's 81 goddamn home games. They're like, well,
It's
here's
true.
$20 to sit in the last row. Go ahead. Well,
Yep.
I guess NBA games, NHL games, you could afford those. If you sit at the top, it's like $50. So you
Yep.
could do that. But for football games, the true fan has been priced out for a long time. And the only reason
Yeah.
the World Cup tickets are because they base it off of you, American consumer. Baku said that's just sometimes depends on how good the player is. I have seen an aspect where a kid sits because they didn't go to the tournament, but they end up playing and they start the next game fully. So I've seen it. Fabian, Jordan, Kobe, and Kareem are in the Mount Rushmore of NBA. LeBron is still sucking milk out of the bottle. Well, you need one more for a Mount Rushmore, Fabian. What are we going to put in there? Lonzo Ball? LeBron doesn't need to give himself a title. That's the reason why a lot of people are turned off by LeBron, is because he crowns himself. That's not how it works. People crown
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you can't give yourself your own nickname, right? So why would you crown yourself the
You also can't
greatest to
sit in
ever
a
do
middle
it?
school gym and announce where you're going via free agency. This isn't college recruitment, LeBron. Maybe it's because he skipped college and was like, I just wanted to do it.
Well, you know what's funny is that I feel like ever since that moment too, that's kind of ushered in the new era of like announcements for like players going from place to place. I know that at the moment that was kind of unprecedented the way he did it. And then obviously what followed with people burning their jerseys and this, that, and the other thing in Cleveland, which I thought was just the funniest thing ever. And then them promising that they would win a title before LeBron did. Obviously that did not pan out. But
And they got
yeah,
Kyrie
I think
out of it. Kyrie delivered them a championship.
it's true. But I think that kind of ushered in the new like player focused, player centered era of basketball, which is like you can say all the things that you want to say, but like to be a generational player, you have to change the game. Like I think Steph is in that same vein. I think the way he shot the basketball is completely like systematically changed the way we play the game
now
of
everyone
basketball.
just chucks up threes. Appreciate
Yeah, I mean,
Steph.
for better or for worse, right? But like, I think like he walked so that players like Caitlin Clark could run and shoot from the logo and make that something that we just come to expect now, which is completely not something you should just expect, but it is what it is. And so
LeBron
I think Steph
killed
has changed the
Cavs.
game.
Ooh, Fabian says I love to see Nate angry. I think is Nate getting pissed? Nate, are you pissed?
No, you ain't getting me pissed today. No, we're good. We're chilling, Fabian. I'm doing all right. I'm doing A-okay.
LeBron killed the
but
Cavs.
no,
Steph has been humble. Well, LeBron kills every team he goes on. After like once he leaves, they got no draft picks. They got no players. They got a whole bunch of aging vets. The team's just killed. They don't do anything afterwards.
Yeah. But would you do it for a title?
Do it for a title?
Yeah.
No, I don't wish I had Caitlin Clark on the Pistons, Fabian. I
do.
Wow. Stray just delivered. Stray Catnip just delivered a stray to us. He said the best part of this shit show is that nobody watches. Is that referring to us or are you referring to soccer here? Because I feel like some people watch us.
You're watching us.
I think he might be referring to soccer. I don't know. But would I do it for a title and then just be irrelevant for 10 years? Probably. If I'm irrelevant for 10 years, yeah, I guess I'd do it for a
I'm
title.
saying. This is the first one in Cleveland in half a century. So I mean,
Fabian.
you can say it's selling your soul, whatever. But I don't personally think that's the case. I just I'm just saying.
What's
a
funny
lot of
is-
organizations would do that to win a title.
What's funny is when you put in
look at
3
Milwaukee.
Hall of Famers and you win 1 title. I mean, that's all you're gonna get out of one.
I was talking about Cleveland, but yes, no, I understand what you're getting at there. Any other comments in the chat? By the way, we got John Kowalski coming up about 10 o'clock, I believe, is when we are expecting him to hop on the show. Get a deep history in the game. I actually talked about he started in the 70s. Actually, in his college career, started in the 60s. 69, played with the New Haven Chargers, but so many different places throughout the course of his career, and then concluding with Robert Morris women's soccer from 01 to 2019. But that's what we got coming up here. And then coach of the men's national team for like 3 games. So I wanted to talk about that 91 team, which he had a couple of names on there. Eric Winalda was one of them. I didn't see Alexi Lalas on that roster. I don't know if he was in the picture quite yet. I think Winalda was young on that 91 team, but we'll get the chance to talk to him. But anything else in the comments, or you want to take a quick step aside, maybe get to mailbag on the other end?
Yeah, we'll do that. Fabi just says, LOL, that means LeBron sucks. What happened to the 5 spicy chickens? I don't know. That's up for me to decide 5 spicy chicken sandwiches or not.
All right, I got you, big dog. Do you want me to do the Barca read?
Sure, we can do that.
All right, let's talk about it. Barca Academy, proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network and the official academy of FC Barcelona in the United States. Designed for boys and girls ages 6 to 18, Barca Academy camps follow and replicate the FC Barcelona game model. Same philosophy used by Barca's professional coaching staff. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code FCB30. Again, that's FCB30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at fcbarcelona.us/camps.
In Barca camp, I sing my song Grown on and off of the field. Don't miss the time to register.
Sign up now for Barca camp.
Back in live on Inside the Game here in hour number 1. Let's get into a mailbag here for a little bit. I know John Kowalski joining us here shortly on Inside the Game. Really looking forward to that conversation. I'm sure a wealth of wisdom and a lot to share about everything that's going on in USA soccer, especially, being around in the game since 1969. I mean, he's seen all of it and then some, certainly in the development of how this game has gone. But Ryan, any comments you want to get to from some of our social videos?
No, we got a couple from the chat, though. Fabian says, why don't the youth academies in the world play against each other to see who the top academy is? Because the report says there is not one USA academy. Well, the USA academies are fairly young so far. I would say, personally, Fabian, money. Do these clubs truly want to spend thousands of dollars for these youth academy players to travel across the world, give them food, hotels, buses, planes, to go decide who the top youth academy is in the world? Probably not. They'll probably keep them within the country. Look, the youth academies, what they do truly does not bother the overall club. Like, obviously you want to produce, great talents, maybe some rehab assignments for some of those players to get their fitness up. But like, in totality, I don't think the results truly matter to them. Obviously you want to see them win, but if they were to, get to a quarterfinal of their youth tournament in their country, I'm sure they're happy with that.
Yeah, or they don't want to get exposed. I mean, that could be another angle of it. But yeah, I mean, the amount of money it would take to go over there. I mean, that's, you're talking about fundraising a little bit earlier. That would take a collective effort to try and raise the funds to go over and compete against those teams. But no, I could also see a situation in which, again, they don't want to get exposed, which, I mean, I understand. I mean, it's easy to play against teams in your own country and teams that are around you and be like, hey, look, we're the best in this area. It's like, okay, but I think that also circles back to what you were talking about. And, like, winning means everything at those really, really young levels, but I do think that winning is an important thing. And I think that exposure is an important thing. And this is, again, how insular the soccer community is in the United States. You don't get that exposure. We don't get these players that, have to compete at or at least face that pressure of playing against maybe kids or other athletes that are far greater than what they are. We're all just kind of playing with each other. So I could see the benefit of doing something like that. Do I ever think it's going to happen, Fabian? No, probably not. I would guess probably not.
Won't you see the top kids in the world, aka a young Messi, Lamine, etc.? Sure, I guess, but everyone kind of knows who the top youngsters are in the world anyway. So, I don't really think an academy tournament really will do anything for anyone, I guess, unless there's prize money involved. That's the only way I think I could see anyone doing this.
Yeah. Won't you see the top kids in the world, aka young Messi? Oh, he just dropped another one. He goes, and also have kids from, trying to get into the academies. Yeah, I'm assuming he's talking about international influence here in the United States, like kids coming over here. Is that what he's trying to say?
Yeah, but those kids won't leave. They'd rather, if the best is in the backyard. They won't leave to come to the United States unless all of a sudden we're paying these academy kids, which doesn't seem to be the best idea in the world. Maybe with NIL, though, who knows? Maybe they'll all of a sudden trickle down to youth soccer academies.
Yep, exactly. So I'm looking through some of the comments we got here I know we posted about the World Cup ticket prices yesterday. By the way, appreciate everybody that's dropping in as always. Man, it's crazy as we get closer to the World Cup with some of these things. Comment, it's not FIFA, it's the USA. This one coming from JL Arrow 7. American consumers are the only ones who would pay those prices. It's the only country where tickets are so expensive, and not just for the World Cup. Stop blaming FIFA. It's the government behind everything. Other countries don't pay crazy prices. I don't think it's the government behind everything. You can't blame everything. Too. You can't blame everything on the government, guys. Okay, it is FIFA. FIFA realizes what they're doing, and I said that yesterday, and this is the reason why I said you have to wait them out. And so, and that's why I said I'm like blaming passionate, normal, hardworking 9-to-5 Americans as a choice. It's not a choice that I would make. But if we're gonna price people out of this, the normal consumer, not the top 1% who can afford these tickets, and then blame me and you and everybody else for how high the ticket prices are. No, man. Like it's the passionate, hardworking, normal, everyday American has been priced out of a lot of these big sporting events. I will never go to a Super Bowl unless I'm broadcasting it. Let's hope, I will never probably go to a World Series Game 7. I will probably never go to do an NBA Game 7, at least not on my own dime. Maybe, I don't know, if I get older and I, hit the lottery or I start making whatever, then maybe, maybe. But I think, I think it goes to the point of extortion in a lot of ways. I just think it's funny how people are willing to stand up for FIFA in these situations. It's like if this was any other country, you wouldn't be standing up for FIFA. But since it's the United States, now it's, well, FIFA knows what they're doing. It was just the U.S. So I don't know.
Imagine.
I think it's kind of corny.
We do got John on. We'll get him on in a second. But this one's just funny. Imagine the price for the ticket in Kansas for the possible Ronaldo versus Messi game. That would be a pretty penny. That would be a pretty penny. But anyway, John Kowalski is on the show here today. John, welcome in.
Good morning.
How are you?
Thanks for joining.
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Not too bad either.
Doing all right.
Good.
Appreciate you hopping on the show today. We've gotten the chance to talk to a lot of figures across USA Soccer. And obviously, we've mentioned you a couple of times on the show as well. So really happy to have you on. First off, how are things? How's the family? Are you excited for the World Cup here coming up in just a few short months?
I'm excited, but I'm about the World Cup, but I'm a little bit concerned about the team and some of the things that you guys are talking about, the price of tickets, the access to the stadium, the transportation, parking, and all of that stuff is kind of a bit different than some of the other World Cups that I have attended.
Is there any difference between, kind of the the buzz, maybe the setup, some of the issues. Is there anything different from 1994 getting set up to that World Cup to this one here in 2026?
I think there's quite a bit of difference. There was a lot more excitement, and I think part of the excitement was generated actually by the product, which is the team, the U.S. team. I think there were already certain things set, and people were looking for the matchups. The Colombia game, I guess the Denmark game, and there was a lot more buzz and there was a lot more excitement. There was karma about the team, and right now I think the coach is still searching. Who's going to be there. There is a completely different atmosphere around the world, which is affecting also, how the World Cup is being perceived, and a completely different atmosphere about the anticipation of the World Cup than it was before. Before was brand new. There were not as many people playing soccer. There was a lot more excitement. And at this time, I feel that, we made a lot of progress with the game. However, there is something lacking about, the excitement and there's back and forth this thing, with how much are the tickets, which games, what's happening in the world. Is Iran still going to show up? Is Italy going to be in? Some other things, that are going on. Messi obviously wasn't before. Ronaldo wasn't before. Now we have two superstars that are aging. Okay, who's going to evolve? So there is a lot of different things that are going on that is different.
And I think when you look back at when the World Cup was here in the United States for the first time, and Alexi Lalas even said this, I think part of the excitement from USA fans was it was new, it was fresh. A lot of them didn't really understand the sport. And so that kind of led to this excitement. It was something brand new to watch this team. All these years later, I feel like to your point, the excitement is nowhere close to maybe what it was once upon a time. And we're far more further along in terms of our understanding of the game now. What's the biggest reason in your mind as to why that excitement isn't really there just a couple of months away?
I think it's part of the reason is the team itself. The product. They haven't really, we have a very good coach. He has a lot of good accomplishments, especially on a team level. We have a lot more talented players. And however, when you put the whole thing together, something is missing. They're not generating, that particular excitement, the anticipation. Are we going to win this game? Are we going to win this game? We don't really know if it's going to be a Turner or freezing goal. Who's going to play really central defense? Who's going to be the starting striker? How is Pulisic going to recover from his injury? How is Reina going to fit into the team? Whereas before, I think, back in after the 90 World Cup, it was quite a bit of continuation when I was the interim coach, and then Bora came in, and then we won the Gold Cup. There was already mainframe of the team was established. And we were getting some interesting wins, played pretty well, drawing big crowds. The anticipation, how is the team's going to do? Okay, it was there, but there was already, Tab Ramos is going to be Eric Wijnaldum, Lalas and Balboa in a central defense. Is Clavijo, Paul Caligiuri, left, right defender. There was, things were established. Tony Miola in goal. And they played previous games and they were doing good in preparation for those games. And right now, we still have no idea, what our lineup's going to be like. We don't really know what formation are we going to be playing. Are we going to play three central backs, two wide wingers? Are we going to play a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3? Who's going to be, managing? Who are the leaders? And no natural leader or two or three that support leaders have evolved. And therefore, the team, the product is not helping to sell itself at the moment, okay, to kind of the country to get behind the team. Okay, say, oh yeah, now we have a decent team. We are contenders at the moment. There is a lot of different rumors whether we're going to get out of a group.
Yeah.
So there are
Well, and
some
I think,
issues at the moment.
yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of pretty much all of what you just said, brilliant, by the way, it could be summarized in one way, and that is identity. I think there's an identity component that's missing on this U.S. men's national team that I felt like we
Correct.
had once upon a time.
Mhm.
Why did we go away from that? What components of that did we go away from? Are we just trying to be the smartest person in the room? What happened there, in your opinion?
Yes. Which I could put my finger on it. And even if I would, I don't think the coaching staff would listen. I think part of it is the entire coaching staff is Argentinian. And very good guys, very good soccer people. However, they need to be more of a component of mashing it in with the American players, American culture. I think under Greg Berhalter, they went too maybe democratic on a team with the team canceled the older players, bringing younger players who should play. There was like a team, decisions, and they were progressing in that direction. New coaching staff comes in, and I don't know if they completely relate to the American player, and kind of bringing. The way things happen in England, the way things happen in Argentina, okay, how we motivate the players is a little bit different, okay, than it is motivating the American players. Then from the administrative point of view, a lot of criticism about, let's say, Giant Stadium or the MetLife Stadium, or they're going to call New York, New Jersey World Cup Stadium. Okay, how are you going to get who's allowed to park, who's not? And there's a lot of negative type of issues that are popping up. $150 round trip ticket from New York City just for getting to the game, or you using a parking lot at a shopping center, and you have to somehow get the 11 miles, and there's no walk-ups allowed. New England has similar problems, okay, with parking. Okay, some other cities, Atlanta, I think, doing good. Kansas City is doing good, but there's always this instead of being on a positive, I think that we're dealing with some positive excitements, with negative excitement, cancellations of Soccer Fest around the Statue of Liberty, the whole thing, cancellations of some other Soccer Fest, paying for the Soccer Fest. So there is, things that are being chipped away at different places. And again, if you want to take a family of four, you need to kind of decide that if you wanted a new vehicle, new SUV, okay, that you may need, or if you need like 2 months, 3 months, and some people will go to those games. And they will put it on the credit cards. But if you want to, go with family of four, is somewhere around $15,000, not for the later games, for the earlier games, and that's hefty for most of the people.
Yeah.
John, it was a brief stint, obviously, as the manager of the U.S. men's national team. But what was the experience like of just running a U.S. men's national team?
Well, it was brief. I enjoyed it, and I could have stayed on kind of as a assistant coach. I was there for 1 year, and we won the Gold Cup. And I think I did a pretty good job in transition from Bob Gensler and to Bora. And we won against Toyota World Cup champion Olympia of Paraguay. Would be like beating PSG, this time, and with the national team. And I changed a couple of players. Again, put Balboa and Lawless, together. Maybe each one of them was equal to maybe eighth or ninth, not quite one, full player that had deficiencies. However, when the two of them played together, okay, they were playing like two and a half. Okay, so each one was missing a few things, but they knew how to cover for each other, how to guide the other players, not to go around them. And started a little bit, right there. Tony Miola was doing good. We were able, to count on Tab Ramos, Peter Vermees, Eric Ronaldo, some other guys. And some of those guys actually I coached in a futsal five-a-side back in '89.
Yeah.
And we won the bronze medal, Peter Vermees, Mike Windishman, Jeffrey Goose, Bruce Murray, Eric Eichmann, Brent Goulet, and there were, players with the national team. And, so I knew the players personally, and I kind of knew, where to press, how to put them together. So in the combination, if they were a little bit deficient, the other player had, some other abilities that was able to pick them up, and together they were able to play more efficient, because shortages of one player, the other player would be able to pick up, and so on. And and I had, going to previous. Okay, in '89, when we were putting that together for the futsal five-a-side, and we didn't play classical futsal style, the Brazilian way. We played more of a five-a-side style, small-sided game. So many of those players also picked up some experience how to play in tight spaces from the indoor game, playing in the tight spaces, and you're really switching from left to center to right, and back and forth. You have to be able to execute well in tight spaces. And I think, some of the gain, playing in a futsal. And before that, I had a full team that we played, and we had some tryouts for the national indoor team. The full team after Lothar Hacienda was kind of given to me. And after that, was given to Bob Gensler. Then after that, I was the interim coach. And then Bora came in. Bora didn't know any of the players. So I kind of continue helping with bringing new players to the lineup, and kind of adjusting. But the mainframe, I was able to help out. So I was one of those links in a chain of time, okay, to contribute. And I really enjoyed it, but I knew the players, and there were some younger players coming out with lots of enthusiasm. Whereas right now, I think there's a lot of players who are making so much money, tons of money. They're playing with terrific professional soccer clubs. But when they're coming to play with a national team, doesn't seem like at the moment the chemistry is there. Whereas we were able, and I was able, to work on that chemistry that continued and helped for the '94 World Cup.
You talked about the connection and familiarity in your position with the U.S. men's national team, and even in coaching futsal as well. And I think that's a really important component. You can be a brilliant mind, but maybe you don't connect to your players as much. I felt like when I was a little bit younger, watching, the likes of Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey and some of those iterations of the U.S. men's national team, they were very much connected. There was a familiarity there. Do you feel like that familiarity with this team and with these players kind of scattered to the wind is lacking with this team?
Yes, it is. And we knew that Gooch going to play in the bag. Brad Friedel or Casey Keller is going to make some incredible saves. Okay. And everybody relied on each other. And the chemistry was just a natural, you help me, I help you. But, the coaches had an influence, providing the structure, the main frame. And I think at the moment that is missing. Last year, Pulisic, not playing, maybe some of that leadership was missed. Yeah, he had to recover from his injury. Uh, Whereas before, everything was kind of growing on top of each other. Okay, and maybe some of that at the moment is missing. There are good players, good coaching. Are they going to be able to pull it together? Okay, in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and in the games against Germany and Senegal. Okay, that would be kind of a final dress rehearsal, but that should
Yeah.
have been done much earlier. Yes, we did have a very good results against Paraguay and Uruguay, and I was at against Uruguay at that game. I think 5-1 or 5-0 in Philadelphia. However, if you remember, a little bit false situation, and we looked very good, and oh yeah, now we're coming together. Okay, but after that, we couldn't get other players. But Uruguay, 3 days or 4 days before that, played against Mexico, and when they played against us, it was almost completely new team that played against us. So to me, that was a little bit. And after that, we really didn't pick up, the rhythm of play, the quality of play, different lineup, different formation. Yeah, there's a lot of question marks at the moment. Whereas before, players were, really pulling for each other, and they were hungry, and there was better camaraderie under Bruce Arena, under Bob Bradley, even under Klinsmann, who was naturalizing a lot of players and a lot of passports, that came in not only through the growth of American player in U.S., but American players with the parents being American and getting passports on time. So, but there was some good additions from that group as well.
John, I heard a story, and I would just like you to confirm it for me. I heard that you almost got Pat McAfee into the MLS with the Columbus Crew. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay.
I
All right.
coached Pat McAfee for 3 years with ODP, and there's a lot of very famous club team, Beedling. So I coached him for 3 years with Beedling as well. So my thing to him is, Pat McAfee, you have a gift of God, but one of those days you're going to make lots of money being yourself and just yapping away. I had to tell him that because he was a distractive, okay, but in a good way, okay, and he was smart, okay, and anyhow, so Monday night we had ODP practices, Tuesday, Thursday we had practices with Beedling for 3 years. On weekends we had games Saturday, Sunday. So for 3 years, we were, doing different things. So I got to know him pretty well. Got him to play with the U.S. under-20 national team, and obviously he decided, to go to, I guess, West Virginia to be a football player. Okay, and then he had a terrific career, but he was always himself, with Indianapolis, playing in a Super Bowl and all of that stuff. But there was a lot of, also interesting things when we were at West Virginia. He ran across the stadium, and security guys chasing him and says, "No, that's my coach, I'm Pat McAfee and all this, So he was already that big personality on campus, and kind of a rebel maker, with police, and cops chasing him, and that was continuation with that river thing with the in Indianapolis. So he was quite a bit of a character. And later on, when I guess NFL went on strike, or there was something in delay in the season, so he called me and says, "Hey, Coach Kowalski, I want to play soccer again, so can you get me a tryout with Columbus crew, because Indianapolis, Columbus, not far away." Robert Wojciech, a Polish guy who was coaching at Columbus, and so Robert, this guy, Pat McAfee, pretty good player, made it, to the under-20 national team, terrific speed, incredible shot, very accurate, very determined, a little bit of a goofball in the locker room, but will loosen up, everybody. Okay, yeah. Can you have a look at him? Can you, give him, like 3 or 4 days? And apparently, what happened? Pat McAfee showed up in the locker room, and I think maybe 20 or 30 television stations followed him. They got more publicity out of the whole thing than the Pat McAfee's ability. And Pat McAfee didn't play soccer, I think, for maybe I don't know, 7 or 8 years or longer. Calls me and says, "Coach, I don't think I'm made for that game. There's so much running in that game. I ain't doing that poop anymore." So that was his extent with the Columbus Crew.
That's awesome. It's a great story.
Yeah, there's no real true running for American football kickers or punters. They actually just stand there and kick balls all day long. So that's you don't have to worry about running a whole lot. But no, that's awesome. I know. Yeah, Pat's a big personality. I guess that kind of parlays me into my next question. And this will be my last one. I know Ryan's got one more as well. The MLS and the academy push. We've certainly seen the arms race and building up these academies and building these new stadiums. Do you believe that the MLS and even the USL for that matter, building these academies, is that helping push the game forward in the US in your opinion?
Yes, it is. Actually, all of them are doing a pretty good job in principle. However, there's a little bit in actual player development. They went a little bit, to that modern way of coaching, which is executing drills, and they do, a pretty good job. Yeah, you can develop player that way in a kind of mechanical way. But they do it a little bit differently at Barcelona. They do it a little bit differently in Argentina, in Brazil. I've traveled through Brazil and seen how being players develop. And there is a science of the game when everything is structured and everything is kind of played according to the structure and mechanical way, breaking lines, going forward. What do you do? And there is a little bit of an art of the game where you have to leave it, some of the things, to the players, and they have to recognize the situation, moments in the game, when to shoot, when to pass, when to dribble, kind of organize scoring situation in tight spaces, improvise, the whole thing. And I think we're a little bit coming short on that, developing players to improvise in tight spaces and, how to play. And I think that's a little bit where our coaches are from the coaching schools and not enough former players who are also pedagogy, education oriented, and kind of combine one and the other one. But I think we're a little bit in the process, and maybe some of the conversations from the older guys like myself will chip away on some information, or will have some input on information. Playing five-a-side, playing the small-sided games, one touch, two touch, where players, are limited, versus executing kind of a development through executing drills. So we are, I think, working on it. The MLS Next is a pretty good program. However, I think the ODP, Olympic Development Program, and outside of that, there are still lots of very good players. And you're playing for the state teams, and like used to be the festival where the state teams would compete against each other. There were regional teams, coaches were picking the best players. Then the regional teams would meet at a Olympic sport festival, and the 4 regions that U.S. was divided: the Northeast, the Southeast, the Midwest, Central, and the West. Okay, and at that time there's more, so maybe we could have more of 8 divisions in a country, and then bring all those players, and then have some experts, coaching staff, kind of picking us. This player, has the potential at the high international level, and establishing a little bit more of a pyramid structure. Right now, there is, I think, quite a bit of, this player, has a flash of brilliance here, a flash of brilliance over there. Do they really compete against each other? Or do they have some kind of a very good agent at the age of 16, 15, and there's already cahoots underneath the table, back pocket policies? Or we have to promote the player because I have the contacts, and and I think a lot of players are being kind of promoted by agents, backpacket policies, and other ways, and maybe some of the other players who are in a more deprived type of neighborhoods, more deprived type of situations, a little bit of ethnic situations. They don't go through the proper process of selecting players and being identified into the program.
All right, John. Last question. It's going to be a fun question. This one, outside the Pat McAfee one, that was fun too. But you're from Poland. I have a little bit of Polish descent in me as well. So I'm
You
curious.
see it in your name?
Yes, the SKIs. It always gives it away. I also think if you got the most random grouping of letters, you got a 99% chance that they're also Polish or from Poland. But I got a question for
Right.
you. What is your favorite Polish food dish?
My favorite Polish food dish probably is bigos.
Okay.
Bigos is a hunter stew. What it is, and I make it very good also. It's mostly a sauerkraut, okay, and then you kind of fry it up a little bit, a beef or pork and kielbasi and onions and some carrots and all of this, and mushrooms and even some apples and all of this, some salt and pepper, a little tomato paste. You just throw it in there, just mix it up, and call it hunter stew in English. And I would say that's one of my favorite Polish dishes.
Yeah, I'm a big
Ooh.
kielbasa.
How about yours?
I'm a big kielbasa pierogi guy. That's kind of what my main two are. Which is sometimes when I go to my mom's side of the family, they're all Hungarian and they call it kobas. So I kind of got to be
Yes.
kind of got to know who I'm with at the right time on what to call it, because sometimes they'll get mad at me if I say kielbasa or kobas. So I just got to know. I'm a big kielbasa pierogi guy though.
Yeah, well, you're a little bit American guy because that would be, quite a bit of, straightforward kielbasa
Yes.
and pierogies.
100%.
I worked at a Polish market for about nearly a decade there. So really, at least
Wow.
Grand Rapids is very Polish and German
Yep.
heavy over here. So I think they played with our name a little bit when we got to Ellis Island. So I don't know what the original name was, but they switched it around because I think on my mom's side it was too difficult. But anyways, we appreciate you stopping by, John, and taking the time as always. Really excited for the World Cup coming up, and obviously you're a wealth of wisdom, so we appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much, and wish you guys all the best.
Thank you, John.
Yes, sir. John Kowalski here on Inside the Game.
That was
Great
a fun-
conversation
fun
with
interview.
him. Yeah, a lot of good stuff in there. Yeah, I think he painted the picture perfectly clear. And I thought it was interesting when he started talking about some of the tactical stuff and operating in tight spaces and how futsal really kind of helped some of those players get there. I certainly think that's a conversation that we can have on our show, 100%. But let's take a break. We'll tell people about Man City soccer camps, and we'll bring you right back. Continue the soccer conversation on the other end. First, though, Man City soccer camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, bringing world-class training inspired by Man City's global football philosophy. Players across the United States. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels. These camps focus on technical development, decision-making, and playing the game the City way. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code MCNSN30, and that's MCNSN30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at usacamps.mancity.com. Into our final half hour here on Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Great conversation with John Kowalski. We'll be posting that full-length conversation on YouTube. We'll also be making short clips for you guys to consume on social media as well. You know, I always love the interviews where you can just kind of set them up with a softball question and then they just kind of take it over for the next 10 minutes. I felt like that's what John did right there. I felt like we asked him some pretty run-of-the-mill questions that we normally ask people in and around USA Soccer, and he was able to carry the weight. That's for sure. So a lot of good stuff there. Pay attention to that on social media. Let's talk a little bit about the international game, though, since we're already on this topic. And Ryan, you know, as always, when it comes to some of these clubs, I'll let you kind of sound off about it. But what do you got? Comments?
Oh no, I thought we were just gonna go straight into the NFL draft or something. That's what I had.
Oh, all
pulled
right.
up.
All right. Well, then let's do that.
But, all right, we'll save Chelsea's
We'll save Chelsea
billion
for tomorrow.
issue tomorrow. We'll save that for tomorrow.
Their buyout for tomorrow.
Because God, I love
It
how
is draft
Chelsea's
day.
falling off the face of the earth. Think if there's one rule in life, don't be friends with Vladimir Putin. That's the only thing as I would say. And Chelsea is clearly going down that path, and they're feeling the repercussions. But yeah, no, we'll get to that tomorrow. NFL draft today, and Nate, I just got a couple things about the NFL draft before we get really into the Detroit Lions discussion. We might not get to the Pistons, and all I'll say about the Pistons is congrats, guys. You finally did your job. Jalen Duren, never bring the ball up ever again. Dear Lord, he can't dribble. Anyway, about the NFL, I would say this about the NFL draft. Two things. One, it is the weirdest. It is like I can't grasp how thousands of people, millions of people will tune into this thing just to hear someone read a name off of a paper of a note card. That still just baffles my mind. And one of our comments yesterday, Dave mentioned about how, you know, you can get picked number 1 overall and your salary is like $7-8 million, and you get picked 32nd overall, or 32nd overall, which is still in the first round, by the way, and you make like $1 million a year. That's just crazy to me. But about the NFL draft, I just want to say this as a Lions fan before we get really into our like picks and everything. I have not paid attention to the NFL draft, like the run up, besides this year for the first time. Like, this is the first year I think I've paid attention to the NFL draft since 2020. Why? Because the Lions are like somewhat watchable now. Like, this used to be our Super Bowl as a Lions fan. Like, this used to be once the season, like midway through the season, I was looking at mock drafts. Who are we getting? Like, how far we need to lose this game so we can draft here instead of here. Like, this one loss will catapult us into number 3 overall compared to like 8th overall. But Nate, the last couple of years, I have not paid attention to the buildup at all to this. Like, I watched the draft and I'm like hype about it, but I have not paid attention to the buildup of the NFL draft like in a long time besides this year.
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard to for the longest time, right? I mean, I felt like, yeah, okay, it was our Super Bowl, but also like that was the day of the year that our organization was going to make as many boneheaded decisions as they possibly could. Yeah, no, I mean, if you want to go back even further, when Matt Millen was drafting a wide receiver every single year, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, yes and no, but I also feel like it can be one of the most frustrating days if it really ends up going that way, and that's why I think. And we talked about this already on this show. Like, this draft is more important than any other that I can remember in my lifetime because of where we are in terms of this hypothetical window that we always talk about as Lions fans. It is that window closed. I don't think it's closed yet, but it's going to take drafting correctly. It's going to take putting guys in the right spots. Again, when you heard what Brad Holmes had to say, that tackle and edge rusher are no longer concerns because of Larry Borom and DJ Wanham. Do I actually believe what he's saying? Do I believe it's just a smokescreen? It could be either or. I think Brad Holmes is smarter than that, Ryan. I genuinely think he is smarter than that. I don't think he would. I think he's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers, all right? And this is me picking the most optimistic way of looking at this because I hope that that's the case. I certainly hope. Ooh, is that a new transition?
Like that one?
I've never seen that before.
I was playing.
Wow.
So sometimes, like,
Right.
sometimes I do a whole bunch of stuff after the show and stuff. And there was one time, I think it was the other day, I was just like playing around with the different, you know, things that I could use. Like, you could use that cut. And then this one, I was like, dude, this feels like Star Wars. Or we can merge like this. Like, no, that was pretty cool.
So you got a couple of different options there on this. So you
got
got the slide
wipe,
one.
we got merge,
wipe.
we got cut.
Oh man, calling it wipe and cut. All right. Well, I like the wipe. I'm just saying. I think you got a point there. But no, this is, you absolutely have to go out and get one of those two, in my opinion, and obviously dress up the secondary. Like, the secondary is the other of the notables that we absolutely need to focus on. And so it really is kind of up in the air. And the hard thing about projecting the NFL draft, and this is why I think people get so into it, Ryan, not necessarily because of, it's because it's so unpredictable at times as to what team is going to take and where. You know what I mean? Like, if you would have told me that the Atlanta Falcons were going to draft Michael Penix despite having Kirk Cousins already in the clubhouse, I would have told you that you're crazy. But like, those things happen on draft day. So what do I believe the Lions are going to do? To be honest with you, man, I mean, I have a couple of sneaking suspicions. I have a couple of players that I think I would like to go get them. I mean, I think TJ Parker, he's more of a round 2 guy, but I think he fits the mold of what they want. They could trade up for one of the top linemen, because we know this is a tackle and edge rusher heavy draft. Is very good for that. Not good for quarterbacks, as we talked about, probably one of the worst.
Yeah.
But in terms of the other prime positions, there's a lot of good players that are available. Monroe Freeling, you think of Spencer Fano, who might be another good choice for the Lions. So I just hope it's in one of those two areas. That's all I'll say about it, because I think there's still two very much needs, and to have those needs in a draft like this, I think sets it up well for Detroit to potentially trade up and get someone big in one of those spots.
Here's what I'm telling you. Here's what when it comes to Brad Holmes drafting, there's two things. He's going to do something that is completely out of left field, and he's going to trade up to do so, or trade back to do so. There's going to be a trade, and I'll tell you who I want, but that doesn't mean it's ever going to happen, because it's never going to happen. I would like Caden Proctor or Monroe Freeling. Maybe Ruben Bain if he ever fell out, if he falls.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I think they're going to trade up to 13 with the LA Rams. That's just what I feel is going to happen. And I'll tell you, one of those things is going to happen. It's going to be the trade to 13. But I'll tell you what Brad's going to do. And I made a video on it, and all the lines like, "Oh my God, we don't need all this." No, you kind of do. They're going to take Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon. I'm telling you, because I'll give you a couple reasons why. One, Drew Petzing loves all the different multiple tight end sets, yada, 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 whatever. You bring in another tight end along with Sam Laporta, Brock Wright. There you go. His catch radius is unbelievable. He can run routes like nobody else can. He's an unbelievable. He can block, so that helps the run game. It helps with the offensive line. And I will tell you another reason why he's going to draft this, because Brad does everything that everyone else – he does the exact opposite of what everyone else wants to do. That's Brad Holmes in a nutshell. He is going to take a tight end at this spot. Brad, we have a glaring need at edge and left tackle. Tight end. That's what we're going to do, damn it. That's exactly what Brad Holmes is going to do today. He's going to take a tight end when we need an offensive tackle. I'll tell you, I want an offensive tackle. I want a Caden Proctor. I want a Monroe Freeling.
Yeah.
I would love a Ruben Bain at edge. Why do I want an offensive tackle so bad? Because Jared Goff is so good when everything else around him is also so good. Like, why was Jared Goff like everyone's like MVP Jared Goff 2 years ago? Why? Because the offensive line was damn good and their running game was damn good.
Mm-hmm.
So you still have Isaiah Pacheco, you still have Jahmyr Gibbs, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have J-Mo when he's not doing stupid stuff, and you already have Sam Laporta. So what do I do in this situation? I'm trying to make sure Jared Goff is as good as he could be on the offensive line. I'm trying to protect him as good as he can be. Why? Because everyone is pissed off about Jared Goff, mobile this, he can't move. Well, no shit, he can't move. It's Jared Goff.
Yeah.
So if you protect him as best as you can, I get it. We don't have Frank Ragnow anymore, but you have a massive upgrade at center in Cade Mays. Graham Glasgow couldn't block me, to be quite honest with you. So a massive upgrade at the center position. You have a second year in Tate Ratledge. You can have a different guard if you want. I don't really care. You've got Penei Sewell, and you add in, hopefully, a left tackle that could be there for 5, 6, 7+ years. That's what I want, but I'm telling you, we're taking a tight end. That's what's going to happen. I'm just telling the facts.
No, you're good. You're good, man. You know what my favorite part about the draft is every single year I am live on air while the draft is going on. So there. I'm not at the event, but 99.9% of the time I have been in the middle of a baseball game when the draft is happening. And that will once again happen tonight. So I think we'll be on for their first round selection. I think that typically that's how it goes, either first and second round. I'm not entirely sure. I know with it being a whole event, this gets dragged out a little bit more than what it normally does.
Second and third round tomorrow. And
oh,
then
first
fourth
round
through
today.
seven
Okay,
on
second.
Saturday.
Okay. All right, gotcha. So we'll be live for their first round pick. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that is. I hope not. I
I'm
hope
just telling you,
everything
that's
that you're
what's gonna
saying is
happen.
not true.
Because
I
when I
Yeah.
look at a Brad Holmes draft, I think to myself, who do
three
I
three
want?
three picks for Isaac Tesla.
I think to myself, who do I want? And I find the players that I want. That's step one. And then what's actually going to happen is I go, he's going to do the exact opposite. So the players that I want, I know are not going to be drafted by the Lions. It's going to be someone that I don't even think about. So that is how this is going to happen. That's how. This is how I figure out a Brad Holmes draft. There's going to be a trade somewhere. There's going to be something. But if you're a Lions fan out there and you think we're going to take an edge or an offensive tackle and just no, that's not going to happen. It's going to be his draft board is way different than his draft board. Let's just go down the list. Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, no one expected that. Jack Campbell, no one expected that. The only pick I think actually was telegraphed and projected was Aiden Hutchinson, and that's because they went number 2 overall. Like J-Mo, no. Tyleek Williams, who's been god-awful, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like, none of what you think is going to happen is not going to happen when it comes to Brad Holmes. That's just the way it is.
The other question is, Dan Campbell being in the room and having obviously a hand in what this team looks like and who they should go out and select, unless Brad Holmes wants to just completely ignore what it is that Dan Campbell sees as what is necessary for this team, which I would like to imagine is the same exact thing that you and I are both saying, which is you need a tackle, you need an edge, right? You need both of those things. Specifically, you need another offensive lineman that you can develop and turn into something to protect Jared Goff, because again, he's one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the National Football League if you actually give him protection, if you actually give him an offensive line that operates the way that it did a couple of years ago. If Dan Campbell is in that same room and is saying these things, how is it that Brad Holmes is able to just kind of bypass that and go out and get a tight end? Not that a tight end isn't going to help on offense.
Just saying,
keep in mind, Dan Campbell
happen.
is a tight end,
still
right?
Re-sign Sam Laporta,
So,
even though he's got a horrible spine injury. It's just the way that Brad Holmes works. It makes zero sense.
Yeah. So I wish I could give you guys more in terms of like, here's what I think's going to happen. Here's what but I don't. And it's because the amount of misinformation also that is released during the NFL draft and these preparation weeks and leading up to
Larry
it is
Tunsil.
just, it is, yes, it is. It is amazing. It is reflective of like the fake news stuff we always hear about. It is what it is, and so it was funny. I saw the Bills the Bills social media team, by the way, is the best in football. I don't think there's anybody
You
that
didn't
comes
think the
close
Lions
to those.
did a good job the other day when they were just randomly tweeting stuff and everyone thought like, dude, what is going on with the Lions? And then they released a video later on in the day that they just handed the phone to some Lions players.
Oh, that's funny. No, I did see the one tweet about how like attack every day like it's your last and live for the moment.
I forget
and I'm
what
like,
player tweeted that, and everyone else
all
was
right,
like, "Are the Lions okay? Did the Orlando Magic do this to him?" And then it comes out later that it was just they just gave the phone to all the Lions players and was just like, "Just tweet something."
That's great. That is really good. No,
But by the way, before you get to your point, this will be my reaction when we take a tight end today. That'll be my reaction.
I don't have anything to throw around me. I have a breakfast burrito, but I'm not going to throw that because then there's cleanup involved in that. So I'll leave that. I'll leave that right there. But we got a battery too. That would do some damage. Here, I got a piece of paper. There you go. It didn't go very far, but you get my point. It did. Yep, it actually came right back. But no, it worked.
I'm just preparing.
Right out of the gate. It worked right out of the gate. Being the smartest man in the room worked right out of the gate for Brad Holmes. You get a few years down the line. Now is not the time to do that. We are at a completely different position now than what we were when he first came in. Hold on. The fly's right on my microphone. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a second. He's right here. God damn it! I missed him. Shit. All right, I'm going to have to get him later. Sorry. He was right here, man. I almost got him. A swing and a miss. Got out of there quick. Whew. I heard something about how like they ride the wind of you swinging at them to get out of situations.
So you gotta go really close. Jeez, I mean I don't have a fly here. I don't think the only distractions we have up here is when like there's a guy in the roof earlier today, and I was just like, what the heck is that? I was like, oh, it's just a guy in the roof.
Just a guy on the roof. All right, just working on the roof. But yeah, man, I hope that everything you're saying right now is not true. Not not that a 2 tight end set is bad, but I just don't think we need it, man. I just don't think.
But what about the Bills? What?
I just think they have the best.
No,
they just have the best social media team in
what they do
football. Just everything they do, all the videos they come out with, their schedule releases are undefeated. Their schedule releases are undefeated. Although I think the Lions did a good job of it last year. I forget what they did.
They took the guy from the people from Detroiters, the actor from Detroiters, didn't they?
Oh yes, yep. I remember.
Oh no, that was 2 years ago. They took. Oh, what they did last year is they went to all the different landmarks and they put the Lions helmet against the team that they're playing. That's what they did. They went to like Motown Museum. They went to LCA. They went to the Fist, Joe Lewis's Fist.
Okay.
That's what they did.
I will say though, and I know that we're gonna get to question of the day here in a little bit, but the blind faith from Detroit sports fans in Brad Holmes is going to be put to the test tonight. And it's going to be put to the test tonight and tomorrow and every other day moving forward here as we get ready for, what this season will be. If you think they're okay and that there's nothing to worry about, that's all going to be put to the test. And
I'll do one better.
We have been through.
What's the blind faith with all of our Detroit GMs? What's the blind faith? You're telling me that Danish Jenkins, who we gave 2-year contract to, is going to help carry us to an NBA championship? No. Do we really think Karis LeVert's going to do anything? No. Do we really think Wenzel Perez and Zach McKinstry, fire up chips, but do we really think those guys are going to do anything? Do we really think Andrew Kopp and JT Compher are going to do anything for us? No. What's the blind faith with all these damn GMs? They all just do nothing. We got Cade Cunningham playing out of his damn mind. We got no one helping him. We got Uncle T who will show up every now and again. Jalen Duren can't even dribble a basketball. We got, dude, you don't understand how crashed out I was yesterday when Jalen Duren dribbled. I go, Jalen, give it up. Jalen, give it up. He dribbled it off his foot, and it led to a Wendell Carter dunk. Nate, I could have dribbled better.
See, I don't know.
A guy with one arm could have dribbled better than Jalen Duren.
I don't see. It does strike me a little bit if Andre Drummond actually cared about basketball when he was younger and didn't care about just partying at Central Michigan on the weekends and making shitty music. He would have been a much better basketball player and probably would have been very Jalen Duren-esque. The NBA does not support bigs that can't shoot. The NBA does not support bigs that can't dribble or move their feet or do any of those other things. Jalen Duren is a mountain of a human being. Don't get me wrong. I still think his defensive profile is great. His rebounding is awesome. But like we talked about yesterday, that's not a super max guy. That's why,
Hell no.
I think it leads to these conversations. I would not pay him that money.
Jalen, I'm not giving you $40 million for you to not develop a post game, not develop a consistent mid range jump shot, and not be able to dribble the basketball. I'm just saying that's just the reality of it.
Absolutely. Let's get into question of the day.
Question of the day brought to you by Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off of that #1 smell-proof cleat bag that 100% works. Scan that QR code on your screen or visit saltathletic.com today. But question of the day, how do you think Ronaldinho got his skills from and his inspiration from?
You've been watching that documentary, haven't you?
Nope, I just been watching clips.
Oh.
I don't like watching. I don't want to watch something without them speaking the English language. I didn't like Squid Games because I had to I didn't like it.
You don't you can't read subtitles? You don't like?
I don't like that. I don't want to just stare at subtitles the whole time.
It's fair. I mean, I watched Narcos. I thought that was a great show. I had to read the subtitles, the captions the entire time, but I thought those were good shows. My guess is, I mean, obviously, playing as a kid growing up, probably playing against much better, more talented players. My guess is something probably along the lines like John Kowalski was talking about earlier, the more futsal style of play and operating in tight spaces. I think probably all those things probably played into it. Admittedly, I don't know enough about his story to be able to tell you through and through exactly where he got all of his skills from, but I don't know. I'm curious. Where did he? Oh man.
He got it from the NBA.
Really?
He said he credits Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, obviously, and Magic Johnson for a lot of his inspiration for skill moves. He said all of the no-look passes came from Magic Johnson. He said he'd watch an NBA game and be like, how can I translate that to the football pitch? How do I do that? And he says the great NBA players from that time inspired him a lot to do a lot of his skill moves, which is weird because, one's with your hands and one's with your feet. But he said a lot of the inspiration, just trying different things. He said he'd watch Magic or Michael Jordan, and immediately the next day, that's what he's trying to do, a skill move, because he saw their body move a certain way, or they did something, to like the scissors and the step overs and everything. Like they would see someone like Hezzy or something. And that he credits a lot of his skill moves to the NBA players from the 90s.
And I think there is, and when you talk about the 90s, you have to start talking about the Dream Team. And this is the thing about, I love it when people not in the US, when they try to get at us and they try to shit talk us a little bit. First thing they're always like, is stick to basketball. Well, it's like when we brought the Dream Team, yes, to the world stage, the game exploded across the world. I mean, it was already big in certain areas of the world before the Dream Team, but that completely changed the entire complexion of the game, because you literally had national teams who were like going up to these guys after losing by 40 and being like, hey, can you sign my stuff? And I tend to believe basketball really strikes home with South American countries, with European countries, because it is very similar to the game of soccer. Now, mind you, there are more pauses in the game of basketball. You have timeouts, you have half times, you have media timeouts, you have all these other things. But the up and down action that is basketball, is very reminiscent of the up and down action that is soccer. I mean, I think it's the they don't get behind baseball, obviously, because baseball is, a lot of people, it's boring. I also was born here in the U.S. American football, yeah, they might get into it, but no one plays it over there. But basketball is a different story. It is very important. It is very prevalent everywhere else. And I certainly see it, and I see it with the other way around too, which is those players, whether they be from Serbia, Slovakia, wherever the heck, France, wherever they're coming from to play in the United States, you see a lot of them are guards. A lot of them are ball handlers because of their court vision and their ability to see the court. I will never forget watching Nikola Topic for Oklahoma City, which, if you don't know that name, you will probably in a couple of years. Kid's the real deal. First round selection, obviously missed out on a couple of years, injury, and then he had cancer for a little bit, but coming back. But we talked about it, and me seeing that kid up close, played soccer when he was younger, and just his ability to scan the court and his skill moves and his quick decision making and operating in tight spaces and all of those different things. The two games are not all that different. They're not all that different when you really think about just from a simplicity point of view. But no, I can certainly see that. But yeah, when you think about the 90s, you think about the Dream Team, and you think about how USA basketball in that generation specifically completely changed the way that the game is perceived and played around the world. Completely changed it. And to be frank with you, Jordan and Magic saved the NBA. So they saved the NBA. They saved the top league in the world.
Give Larry Bird some credit.
Oh, and Bird too. Well,
Bird and Magic saved it.
Bird
Michael
and Magic, my
Jordan
bad. Bird and Magic. MJ, right. He came along later. Bird and Magic changed it.
And then LeBron made it unwatchable. That's pretty much how it happened.
Yeah, he made it. He made it
I will say this.
a players' first league.
I didn't think Nikola Topic was that good at all against the Pistons when I watched him in person. I was like, this guy stinks.
He's still young. Yeah, he's still got some development.
Did you
to-
watch
to
him in
be
the
had,
G League or
but-
the NBA?
G League? Yeah,
Okay.
G League.
All right,
in
there's
Grand
okay.
Rapids.
Big difference then.
Yeah.
Big difference then.
So,
He
but
got Anthony
anyways,
Pritchard on his team, fire up chips.
he's good. He's a lockdown defender, man. He was good. I think he had like 27 in one of the games that we did there. 26, 27.
Yeah, he's a
something
very
like
good,
that.
very good inside the arc. Very good defender. 3-pointer could eat some work, but maybe it's
Yeah,
gotten
I'm
better
sure.
since I watched.
Yeah. But no, that doesn't. I mean, it surprises me a little bit. But it doesn't surprise me much because I think, and I do miss that iteration of that generation of the sport. You know, part of me wishes I could really go back and watch, you know, the NBA from those eras because you had actual rivalries. The regular season actually meant something back then. Obviously, it really doesn't mean jack shit now. If you look at a lot of the teams in the NBA. You had
Thanks,
stars,
LeBron.
you had legitimate Eastern Conference rivalries, you know, the Pistons and whoever else, the Bulls.
The Pacers,
it's just
the
not,
New Jersey Nets. I had a lot of rivalries.
but it's just a change in the mentality too, because they're all
Thanks,
friends
LeBron.
now. Like they're just you can say LeBron, yes, and I do think he has ushered us into more of a player centered iteration of the NBA, but also we're so interconnected. They make so much money. Everybody, they're all friends in the off season. They all train together.
LeBron.
They all go to these places together. You can say LeBron all
Magic
you
and
want,
LeBron
but
were
like
friends, and then they hated each other.
Magic and LeBron.
Or Magic and Isaiah. My bad. Isaiah Thomas. Magic and Isaiah. They were friends. Then
Yeah.
they've got in the court, and they really hated each other.
No, well, and
Let's be buddy. Thanks, LeBron. Appreciate it, my man.
I mean, he was a part of one of the best rivalries in NBA history, and them and the Warriors. So, you know, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
That
I don't think
rivalry
you can
is very
blame.
overrated. It was good for 2 years, and that was it. After that, it was gentleman sweep and a sweep in the finals. It's really not that great of a rivalry. It was good for
But
2 years.
I don't. I don't think you can put that all on one person. But what I will say is the demanding trades, the load management, all that
Not
stuff.
5,
Certainly,
Not
certainly-
6, not
certainly has come
7.
from
You went
LeBron.
2 for 2, buddy. Or 2 and 2.
But that'll wrap up here, episode 274 on the National Soccer Network. What a show. Really good conversation again with John Kowalski. We'll be cutting that one up to put that one on social media. Ryan and I are back at it tomorrow. Final show of this week on Friday, and then obviously coming up on Monday as well. Give us a follow on social media, National Soccer Network or Sports Nation. That's sports with a Z. And until we talk to you guys at 9 a.m. tomorrow, so long, everybody.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.